Yeah. Hello viewers. Yes, this is Ranjana ma'am and you're watching yours as well as my channel, and I'm back. So many requests for Julius Caesar Act 1 Scene 2 Part 2. I told you it's a very lengthy chapter and I cannot do it. It would be really taxing for you all also to read it in one go, so that is why I have spaced it up. So yes, we will continue from where we had stopped in Act 1 Scene 2 Part 1. So this is your Part 2. Many of you are having exams and you are telling that ma'am we have our exams. So yes, how could I sit tight when you all need me? Yeah, but by the way, have you subscribed to my channel? If you haven't, please do, and don't forget to press the like button. Okay, so let's start. So the second part starts from where Brutus had heard the second shout. He had heard another shout, that means the public were shouting. So he says another general shout. I do believe that these applauses are for some new honors that are heaped on Caesar. So Brutus is confident. He feels that maybe some new honors heaped on Caesar, and that is why the public, they are cheering. So we had stopped there, and after that we resume from Cassius's speech. So what does Cassius say? It's a big speech, and that is why I had stopped it there. So Cassius says, why man, he doth bestride the narrow world like a colossus, and we petty men walk under his huge legs and peep about to find ourselves dishonorable graves. Cassius always jealous of Caesar. Why? Because he feels I saved this man. If I had not saved him, he wouldn't have become so powerful. And now he looks down upon me. So he is trying to provoke Brutus. So he says, why man? Yes, so does he need any more honors? He is walking, he is so ambitious that as if he is like a colossus. Have you, do you know about the 7 wonders of ancient world? So there is one, Colossus of Rhodes, that is supposed to be a very huge statue with the 2 feet apart. The 2 legs are apart, and through it the boats pass. So he says that Caesar has become like that. He has become huge, gigantic, or his very high ambitions have made him look very high. And we look like those small boats that pass through the legs of that Colossus. We are insignificant creatures, and we are walking through the arch of his legs. We are compelled to look here and there and search dishonorable graves for ourselves. Why? Because it is a shame for us that we have made someone reach beyond his limit. He has become like the Colossus. So it is we who have made it. So we should be ashamed. So we are petty creatures. We are walking under his leg and looking here and there to find ourselves where we could bury our faces, dishonorable graves. Men at some time are masters of their fate. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars but in ourselves, that we are underlings. And then yes, he tries to sound very philosophical, and he says that yes, Brutus, at one time or the other, all of us, we are in control of ourselves. We are in control of our destiny at some time or the other. And we should be blamed Brutus and not the stars under which we are born, because we are weak. So many times now we say, oh, I am not doing well. Actually my star is to be blamed, not I. We have a habit of blaming the stars so far away from us. So he says, no, the fault is not in the stars. The fault is in ourselves, that we are weak underlings, we are not at all powerful, we are weak. So the fault is not in the stars, it is in us. Brutus and Caesar. What should be in that Caesar? Why should that name be sounded more than yours? He is trying to provoke, he is trying to make Brutus jealous of Caesar. So he is saying, Brutus, Caesar, what is so special about Caesar? Why should people take his name more than yours? He is nothing special than you, he is nothing better than you. Write them together, yours is as fair a name. Write Brutus, write Caesar. Your name sounds equally fair, equally good. Sound it, it doth become the mouth as well. Yeah, so not only that, if you speak out Brutus, if you speak out Caesar, does Brutus seem inferior to Caesar? No. Speak it, and when people hear it, it will seem the same. I mean, of same importance in the ears of the people. Brutus, Caesar. So does Caesar's name sound much better and Brutus's name sound inferior? No, they sound as good. Weigh them, they are equally heavy. Weigh Caesar, weigh Brutus. So Brutus, 6. Brutus, Caesar. Caesar also has 6 letters. Brutus also has 6 letters. So what is the difference? Weigh them. It is as heavy. Conjure with them. Brutus will start a spirit as soon as Caesar's. So if you want to try to start a charm with the name of Caesar, you can do same with the name of Brutus. So conjure with them. If you want to start a magical charm with the name of Caesar, if that is good enough to start a magical charm, if Caesar's name is good enough to start up a magical charm, so is Brutus's name. He is trying to make Brutus feel jealous of Caesar, make Brutus feel that I am nothing inferior to Caesar, so why should he become so high and mighty? He is just provoking Brutus. Now in the name of all the gods at once, upon what meat doth this our Caesar feed that he has grown so great? So calling God as witness. What food does Caesar really eat that has made him so great? So like in Hindi we many times say na, kis chakki ka pisa hua atta khaya hai, ki that you've become so strong and healthy. So it is a similar thing. What meat has Caesar fed upon that has made him so powerful that Brutus has not? If Caesar has eaten some meat, Brutus also must have eaten the same meat. So what is the difference? Age, thou art ashamed. Rome, thou hast lost the breed of noble bloods. So then he is calling upon the age. He is as if invoking the spirit of age. The age to which Cassius, Brutus, Caesar, they all belong. He is as if invoking the spirit of age and says, you should be ashamed for allowing these things to happen. And Rome, he is calling upon the country. Rome is not a person. This is a sort of personification. He is calling upon the country and saying, Rome, thou hast lost the breed of noble men. So yes, you have lost the race of noblemen. That means no longer do noblemen live here in Rome. If they had lived, they wouldn't have allowed someone to become a dictator and the common people suffering under the yoke of that person. Had Rome quality and a lot of noblemen in Rome, had there been a lot of noblemen in Rome in this age, would they have allowed Caesar to rise so high and become a tyrant or a dictator and make the common people his slaves? And would the people have allowed this tyranny if they were noble enough? So Rome has lost noblemen, lost the race of noblemen. Here race doesn't mean running a race. That means the race and creed, we say that race. when went there by an age since the great flood, but it was famed with more than with one man? When could they say till now that talked of Rome, that her wide walls encompassed but one man? So he is trying to put his ideas, brainwash Brutus into believing that Caesar has become so powerful that now it seems that Rome has no other man worth mention in Rome. There is no other man worth mention in Rome than Caesar. So Caesar is the only man in Rome who is worthy of being called great, and all the other men, they are under him. So he says that in Rome there has never been any period since that great flood. Since then, starting from the time after the great floods, Rome had always been glorious, not because of one man. It was a joint effort. Many famous Romans had always joined hands to bring glory to Rome. Since the time of the great flood, this has been a practice. Rome has been glorious, but this glory was never brought by one man. It was a combined effort, it was a joint effort. So, and there was never any time when those people who spoke of Rome, they said that there was only one man in the territories of Rome. So yes, deliberately poking Brutus into believing that Caesar has become all in all. He has become all in all, and you are nothing. I am nothing. There is no other man who is worthy of mention in Rome. Caesar has made it possible. So he is trying to make Brutus feel, or rather believe, that we have all become inferior. So why? We are not inferior, but we are being projected as being inferior. Caesar is trying to make himself so powerful, or rather so superior, that we are being shown as non-entities. We are nothing. Oh, you and I have heard our fathers say there was a Brutus once that would have brooked the eternal devil to keep his state in Rome as easily as a king. Now again, he is bringing in the reference of his forefather, Brutus's forefather several generations back. Brutus's forefather Julius Brutus. So he says that you have heard from your father, I have heard from my father, that in Rome there was once a Brutus who would have allowed the devil to become a king rather than allow a king to rule in Rome. I told you that Julius Brutus had driven this Tarquin king from Rome. Why? Because that king was a tyrant. That means he wouldn't allow a human being to be the ruler of Rome. Julius Brutus. So indirectly he is trying to tell, you are his descendant, and how can you allow this to happen? How can you allow Brutus to become how can you allow Caesar to be the king? You are his descendant. You are Marcus Brutus, he was Julius Brutus. Your ancestor had abolished monarchy from Rome. Since Julius Brutus's time, there was democracy in Rome, and you are his descendant. You are no less capable than Caesar. So how can you allow this to happen? So Brutus understands. Brutus is not a fool. He is quite wise. So he says, that you do love me, I am nothing jealous. So he says, I am not suspicious. I am not doubtful that you love me. Your love for me, I don't doubt. What you would work me to, I have some aim. I also know what you wish me to do. So Brutus understands that Cassius wants me to join him. So he says, yes, I know, I understand what you wish me to do. How I have thought of this and of these times I shall recount hereafter. So yes, what is my opinion about this? What you have said, what is my opinion about this? What is my opinion about the current state of affairs in Rome? I will explain at some other time, not here. This is an open place, it is a street in Rome, and he knows that someone might hear us talking. For this present, means for the present time, I would not so with love, I would not. So with love I might entreat you be any further moved. So, in the meantime, I would request you as a friend not to force me any further in this matter. Don't talk to me any further in this matter here. As you are my friend, I request you, please don't compel me or press this point here any further. He doesn't want any more talk, because any moment Caesar and his train might appear, and he doesn't want to be caught talking all these things or criticisms about Caesar. What you have said I will consider. Yeah, I will think on what you have said. What you have to say I will hear with patience, and find a time both meet to hear and answer such high things. What you wish to say, what you have heard, what you have said, I have heard it and I'll think on it. What you have to say, I will hear it with patience, but not here, at a time when both of us are free, and answer such, both meet to hear and answer such high things. So these are very serious things, and this is not the place to discuss these serious things. So when both of us are free, the time is suitable, then only we will talk about. Till then, my noble friend, chew upon this. So till then, my good friend, noble friend, think upon this. Brutus had rather be a villager than to repute himself a son of Rome under these hard conditions, as this time is like to lay upon us. So he says, I can tell you only this, think on this. I can only tell you that I would rather live in a village as a villager than call myself a Roman. If I have to surrender myself to the oppression and tyrannies which the current age might impose upon us. So he also senses that if Caesar becomes the king, there might be oppression and tyranny returning back to Rome, as it was in the days when kings ruled. So when kings rule, they become despot, they become a dictator, and he doesn't want that to happen. Rather, I would go to a village and live there than consider myself as a Roman and bear the ignominies of a Roman citizen, because the times might press upon us all these things. So rather than living here in Rome, I would retire to a village and live there as a villager than suffer the life of a slave. So Cassius, he is happy. Why? Because he has done his job. Cassius has done his job. His job was to make Brutus think on the current state of matters. Brutus had already been thinking of it. It is not that he has started the thought in Brutus. Brutus was troubled by these thoughts only when Cassius approached him. He loved Caesar, but at the same time, he did not wish that Caesar should become the king. So he said, I love him well, but I don't want him to become the king. So Cassius, I am glad that my weak words have struck but this much show of fire from Brutus. So he says, Cassius says, I am really glad. What he says, he doesn't mean it. He says, I am really happy, I am really glad that my weak words have been able to produce this much of warmth from the heart of Brutus. He knows his words are not weak. He knows that these words are like bullseye hitting the target. He knows it very well. But he is trying to be too humble. Now Caesar and his train, they are returning. They had gone to celebrate the festival of Lupercal, and now they are coming back, returning, and Caesar seems to be very angry. Brutus, the games are done and Caesar is returning. So he says that the games have been completed, the sports and games are over, the games are over, and Caesar is returning. Cassius, as they pass by, pluck Casca by the sleeve, and he will after his sour fashion tell you what hath preceded worthy note today. So Cassius tells Brutus that when these people are passing, Caesar and his followers are passing, pluck Casca. Casca is another Roman, he is a young Roman and quite an aggressive fellow. So when Casca is passing, pull his sleeve so that he will understand you want to talk to him. And then when we ask him what has happened, he will describe it in his sour fashion. So in his strange way, he will describe, he will give an account of what had happened at the festival of Lupercal. I will do so. That means, yes, I'll pull his sleeve. But look you, Cassius, the angry spot doth glow on Caesar's brow, and all the rest look like a chidden train. Calpurnia's cheek is pale, and Cicero looks with such ferret and such fiery eyes as we have seen him in the Capitol, being crossed in conference by some senators. So Brutus notices something strange in the behavior of Caesar and his followers. So what is it? Caesar looks angry. So yes, I will pull Casca by the slave, but have you noticed how angry Caesar looks? And the others also who are following him, they look as if they have been scolded, they have been rebuked. Calpurnia looks so nervous, so pale. Calpurnia's cheek is pale, so her cheek has lost color. And Cicero looks very angry, his eyes red and flashing. He looked the same when in the Senate house, when the other legislators, when the other senators had opposed him, the way he had looked in an angry fashion with red eyes, he looks just the same now. Cassius is confident that Casca will relate everything that had happened there. Casca will tell us what the matter is. Caesar. Now Caesar starts talking. Antonius. So Caesar was the only one who called Antony Antonius. His real name is Mark Antony, but God knows why Caesar always called him Antonius. Antony. Caesar. So Caesar, while passing, has noticed that Cassius and Brutus, they are standing at the roadside watching them. So on seeing Cassius, what does Caesar say? Let me have men about me that are fat, sleek-headed men, and such as sleep o' nights. So I want men who are healthy. By fat, he doesn't mean it really doesn't mean fat, but he means healthy people with their hair well combed, not unruly, uncombed hair. Sleek-headed means men with their hair well combed, and people who sleep at night, those who don't remain awake at night. Why does he want people like this? Because people who don't sleep at night, who don't comb their hair properly, leave it unruly, and who are thin, he doesn't like these type of people. Why? Because he is afraid that these type of people are dangerous, but he wouldn't confess that he is afraid of Cassius. So he says, yond Cassius has a lean and hungry look. He thinks too much. Such men are dangerous. So Cassius over there, he looks as if starved, as if he has not slept. He looked starved. He has not slept. So these type of people are dangerous. Why? Because these type of people spend their night thinking, and that is why they are dangerous. Thinking people are dangerous. Antony, fear not him, not Caesar. He is not dangerous. He is a noble Roman and well given. So Antony assured Caesar, Caesar, don't be afraid of him. He is not dangerous. He is a noble Roman. He is a well-behaved Roman. So that is how Cassius appeared in front of others, well-behaved noble Roman. But what was going inside him, not many people knew, but Caesar understood this. And Caesar should, because he also must be remembering, this Cassius had saved my life, and now that I have grown so high, he must be feeling jealous of me. So Cassius, according to Antony, is well behaved and a noble Roman, but does it satisfy Caesar? What he says, does that satisfy Caesar? Would he were fatter? So I still wish that he were fatter, but I fear him not. Caesar is always trying to show that he is not afraid of anyone. In reality, he is afraid in the heart of his hearts, but he doesn't want to show it. So he says, I fear him not. Yet if my name were liable to fear, I do not know the man. I should avoid so soon as that spare Cassius. So he says, I am not afraid of him still. If my name, if I were to know what fear is, I am not afraid of anyone. But if I knew what fear is, then I would have avoided no one other than that thin Cassius. If my name, or if I had fear about something, if I were afraid of something or someone, it is that lean Cassius and no one else. So in a way he acknowledges, though he doesn't confess it, but he is afraid. Why? The reasons, underline the reasons Caesar gives for considering Cassius dangerous. They are coming now, so please underline them. What? He reads much. Yeah, when you read, you get to know so many things. You read about the oppression in many countries and how people rose in revolt and overthrew the king and all that. So you get to know a lot. And he is a great observer. Yeah, he notices everything. And he looks quite through the deeds of men. His eyes, they are penetrating. It can read what is going on in your heart. He doesn't take you for your outward appearance. He can peer, his eyes can peer and go inside your heart and know what is going on in your heart. He loves no plays as thou dost, Antony. Antony, you are fond of games and sports, but he is not. He hears no music, seldom he smiles, and smiles in such a sort as if he mocked and scorned himself and scorned his spirit, that could be moved to smile at anything. So he is not fond of music. He hardly smiles. He doesn't smile at all. He hardly smiles. And even if he smiles, he is not smiling at something which is funny, but he is smiling as if to scorn himself that he could find such a thing funny and laugh at it. Such men as he be never at ease whilst they behold a greater than themselves. This line is very, very correct. Caesar has judged Cassius rightly. Very proper judgment. So he says men like Cassius, they are never comfortable, they are never happy when they see someone greater than themselves. Yes, very true. We have already learned this is the fact. Cassius is not happy. Why? Because he feels Caesar has suddenly grown to the status of a demigod, whereas he is just an ordinary human being like us, and that is what he is trying to make Brutus realize, that what is so great in Caesar. So Caesar has understood this. So he says these type of men are never happy when they see someone greater, and therefore they are very dangerous. So the reasons why Cassius should be considered dangerous, what are these? He reads much, great observer, looks quite through the deeds of men, loves no plays, hardly smiles, and he doesn't listen to any music. I rather tell thee what is to be feared than what I fear. So I am telling you what people should be afraid of than what I am afraid of. I am not afraid of anything, but people should be afraid of such men. For always I am Caesar. Yes, I am Caesar and I am not afraid of anything. Come on my right hand, for this ear is deaf, and tell me truly what thou thinkest of him. So Caesar is Caesar's left ear, he cannot hear, is deaf. He is deaf in the left ear, and that is why he tells Mark Antony, come to my right ear, because this ear is deaf, and speak out your opinion about Cassius. So these people leave. Exeunt Caesar and all his train. So you know two things from which Caesar suffers. One is epilepsy, fainting sickness, and the other is one ear is deaf, he cannot hear. The left ear. Casca, you pulled me by the cloak. Would you speak with me? So he's asking Brutus. Brutus has pulled his sleeve. So he's asking Brutus that, do you want to speak to me? Brutus, hey Casca, tell us what hath chanced today that Caesar looks so sad. So Brutus wants to know, Casca, tell me what really happened there. And why does Caesar look so sad? Why, you were with him, were you not? So why are you asking? You were also there. He doesn't notice that Brutus had not joined the procession and had stopped at the roadside only along with Cassius. In the beginning they were all there, but after that Brutus had not gone till the end. He had stopped midway and Cassius was also with him. So he is telling, you were also with him, so why are you asking me? So what does Brutus reply? I would not then ask Casca what had chanced. So if I really had been present there, would I have asked you? Since I had not been there, I am asking you. If I had been there, why should I ask you? Why, there was a crown offered him, and being offered him, he put it by with the back of his hand, thus. And then the people fell a shouting. So when we were all there, a crown was offered to Caesar. He did not accept it and he pushed it away with his hand, and the people cheered. That was the first one. What was the second noise for? Why did the people shout the second time? Why? For that too. That means second time he was offered a crown. This time also he refused and the people shouted. They shouted thrice. What was the last cry for? Now Cassius is asking, what was the last cry for? Why? For that too. So 3 times a crown had been offered to Caesar and Caesar had refused it thrice and the public had cheered. Was the crown offered him thrice? Brutus asked. So 3 times was the crown offered to him. Ay, marry was it. He put it by thrice, every time gentler than other, and at every putting by mine honest neighbors shouted. So yes, he was offered the crown 3 times, and every time that he refuses, he gets gentler. Means first time with great force, second time refusing, and third time as if he would keep it, but still he refuses. That means with the offers, he is not so strong enough in his refusal, which means that he is reluctantly parting with the crown. And every time that he refused, the crowd cheered. Oh, Caesar is so great, he wouldn't accept the crown. So this makes him angry. He had rather wanted that the people should feel sad that he had refused the crown, but the crowd cheered. Actually, Caesar does not have much knowledge of crowd behavior. If he had accepted also, they would have cheered. He doesn't know this and he gets angry. Who offered him the crown? Why, Antony. Brutus, tell us the manner of it, gentle Casca. So gentle Casca, tell us how the crown was offered to him. I can as well be hanged as tell the manner of it. Yes, so rather than telling what happened there or how it was done, he would prefer getting hanged. And then he says, actually, why does he not wish to go into details about what happened? Because he finds it was just foolishness that had taken place there. Mark Antony offering the crown and Caesar refusing the crown. I did not mark it, I did not observe it very well. I saw Mark Antony offer him a crown, yet it was not a crown neither, it was one of those coronets. And as I told you, he put it by once, but for all that, to my thinking, he would fain have had it. So he says that Mark Antony had offered him a crown. It was not a crown in the real sense. It was like the crown made of flowers, the coronet. Jesus Christ had a crown of thorn. Coronet, they say. It looked like a crown, but it was rather a coronet, and the first time he was offered the crown, he rejected it. But Casca feels that Caesar, though he rejected it, seemed that he would rather want to keep it than put it by. Then he offered it to him again, say the second time. Then he put it by again, but to my thinking he was very loath to lay his fingers off it. Second time also he puts it by, but according to Casca, he hated returning the crown. And then he offered it the third time. That means Mark Antony offered it the third time, and still he refused it. The third time also he refused it. The rabblemen hooted. Rabblemen means the common people, the crowd. They hooted and cheered and clapped their chopped hands and threw up their sweaty nightcaps and uttered such a deal of stinking breath because Caesar refused the crown that it had almost choked Caesar. So when he refused it for the third time, the common people, they opened their mouths and cheered. This is just exaggeration. He says, Casca says, the common people, when they started opening their mouth and cheering Caesar, the bad breath which came out from, the stinking breath which came out from their mouth, it choked Caesar. And he fainted. And I felt like laughing, but I did not open my mouth because for fear that I might also inhale that or rather that dirty air should, stinking breath of those common people should get inside my mouth. So Cassius, but soft, I pray you, what did Caesar swoon? Did Caesar faint? Casca, he fell down in the marketplace and foamed at the mouth and was speechless. Yeah, he lost consciousness. It is very like he had the falling sickness. So Brutus says, yes, it is likely because he suffers from the falling sickness, means epilepsy, a type of illness when you all of a sudden lose consciousness. This is what happened when Caesar had challenged Cassius to that swimming competition, and then in the middle only, while they were moving towards the particular point, he had lost consciousness. So that is called epilepsy. No, Caesar hath it not, but you and I and honest Casca, we have the falling sickness. So Cassius is trying to provoke the people, Brutus and Casca. He says, no, Caesar does not have the falling sickness. You have the falling sickness, I have it, and Casca has it. That means falling in front of Caesar. We have this falling sickness. We fall down in front of Caesar and make him appear high and mighty. I do not know what you mean by that, but I am sure Caesar fell down. If the ragtag people did not clap him and hiss him according as he pleased and displeased them, as they used to do, the players in the theatre, I am no true man. So Casca doesn't understand what Cassius really means by saying that we three have the falling sickness. So he says, I don't understand what you say, but I am sure that Caesar fainted. Not us, but Caesar fainted. And the people who were happy at his action, they cheered him as the actors are cheered in a drama. When people perform on stage, and the way the actors, they pay compliments by cheering, that is how the common people or the crowd cheered him. And if it is not true, if what I have said is not true, don't believe me again. What said he when he came unto himself? So what did Caesar say when he regained his consciousness? Mary, before he fell down, when he perceived the common herd was glad he refused the crown, he plucked me ope his doublet and offered them his throat to cut. So he says, by Mary, before fainting, what did Caesar do? When he saw that the people were cheering that he had refused the crown, inwardly he was very angry. So what did he do? He opened the button of his cloak and told the common people to cut his throat if they wished. And I had been a man of any occupation, I would not have taken him at a word. So he says, if I had been one of the common people or even a working person, I would have acted according to his suggestion and cut his throat, but I am not like those people. So I understand that he really doesn't want his throat to be cut. He is angry with them. I might go to hell with the rogues, and then I would go to hell. I would go to hell for killing Caesar. And so he fell. After saying this, he fell and lost consciousness. When he came to himself, that means when Caesar regained consciousness, he said, if he had done or said anything amiss, he desired their worships to think it was his infirmity. So when he regains consciousness, he feels, what have I done? I shouldn't have said this thing that cut my throat. I shouldn't have showed my anger. So he says that if I have done something wrong, please forgive me, because it is my weakness which has made me say these things. So please forgive me. 3 or 4 benches where I stood cried, alas, good soul, and forgave him with all their hearts. But there is no heed to be taken of them. If Caesar had stabbed their mothers, they would have done no less. So 3 or 4 young women who stood beside me, they forgave him. They said, oh poor soul. So they forgave him. So Casca says their words should not be given importance. Why? Because at this moment they forgave Caesar for what he said, but if Caesar had killed their mothers, then also they would have forgiven him. That means whatever Caesar does, these people are all for Caesar. Whether he refuses the crown, they cheer. If he accepted the crown, they would have cheered. So he is trying to tell this. Brutus, and after that he came thus sad away. So after that he returned sadly. Yeah, Caesar was sad that he did not get the crown. He wanted to get it, but when the people cheered, he could not keep it to himself. Casca, A. Did Cicero say anything? Cicero is a Roman senator. A. He spoke Greek. Yes, he spoke in Greek. Actually, he did not speak in Greek. What Cicero said was beyond the comprehension of Casca. Casca could not understand. So I always give the example. Suppose I talk to you in a language which you don't know. So you can say, ma'am spoke Greek, ma'am spoke Latin. That means ma'am spoke in a language which I don't know, which I couldn't understand. Ma'am said something which was beyond my comprehension. I could not understand it. It is like that. Whatever Cicero spoke, he could not understand it. To what effect? So what did he say? Nay, and I tell you that I'll never look you in the face again. So I don't know what he said, because I could not understand him. But those that understood him smiled at one another and shook their heads. So it was beyond my comprehension, but those people who understood, they shook their heads and they smiled. But for mine own part, it was Greek to me. To me, it was incomprehensible. I could tell you more news too. Yeah, I could give you some more news. Marius and Flavius, for pulling scarves of Caesar's images, are put to silence. So that means they have been removed from their job. Silence can also mean they have been executed, or they have been dismissed. They have been dismissed from their job. They were the tribunes. Remember the 2 tribunes, Act 1, Scene 1. Fare you well, there was more foolery yet if I could remember it. And then he bids them farewell and he says there was more foolish acts committed there, but if I could remember. Cassius wants now to brainwash Casca into joining the conspiracy. He has already won half of Brutus. He has already convinced not Brutus completely, but half job is done. But Casca he has to convince and make him join the conspiracy. So he is laying a trap for Casca. He is telling, will you sup? He is offering an invitation to supper. No, I'm promised forth. No, I have an engagement. I'm already engaged tonight. Will you dine with me tomorrow? So he doesn't lose heart. Tomorrow will you have supper with me? A. If I be alive and your mind whole and your dinner worth eating. Yes, so if I'm still alive, if you still have a mind to invite me, and if your dinner is worth. Cassius, good, I will expect you. Casca, do so, farewell both. So he bids both of them farewell. After he leaves, Brutus, what a blunt fellow is this grown to be. He was quick metal when he went to school. So Brutus says that when he was young, he was quite alert and active, quite an intelligent fellow. But now he's become so blunt. He's become so stupid. So he is now in execution of any bold or noble enterprise. So Cassius is a better judge of human character. However, he puts on this tardy form. This rudeness is a sauce to his good wit, which gives men stomach to digest his words with better appetite. So Cassius, I told you, is a better judge. So he says that if you give him a brave or daring deed to carry out, if you give him a brave and daring deed to do, he is the same alert, he is the same bright fellow as he was in his school days. So who understands Casca better? Cassius. And that is why he needs people like him. But he puts on this roughness of temper, this rude and arrogant behavior, and maybe this adds some sauce to his behavior. To those people who listen to him, it becomes more agreeable. They accept him with his rudeness because they know that when a brave and daring job is to be given to Casca, he will carry it out as is expected of him. So yes, if he is such a daring and a brave fellow, we can allow him to be a bit rude and arrogant. Brutus, and so it is. For this time I will leave you. Tomorrow, if you please to speak with me, I will come home to you, or if you will come home to me and I will wait for you. So Brutus says, yes, it's enough. I'm going to leave you. If you wish to speak to me tomorrow, either come to my house or I go to your house. And then if you wish to come to my house, I will wait for you, or I will go to your house, because this is not the place to talk such things. I will do so. Till then, think of the world. So Cassius is happy that he has nearly convinced Brutus. So he says, very well, I will rather come to your house. And that is what he does on the eve of the Ides of March. And till then, think of the current state of situation in Rome. He is always reminding him that Rome is in trouble, Rome is in trouble, and Brutus, the great patriot that he is, he will be stirred into action. So after Brutus leaves, just see Cassius, the real Cassius. This is the real Cassius, the conspirator, the cunning Cassius. So what does he say? Well, Brutus, thou art noble, yet I see thy honorable metal may be wrought from that it is disposed. So he says, Brutus, of course you are a most noble person, but I think that your honorable metal can be twisted from what it is inclined. You are an honorable person, but I can mold you in a different manner. You can be molded in a different manner. Therefore it is meet that noble minds keep ever with their like. So he knows himself that he is not noble, and he says noble people should always be with noble people, not with others, because noble people can be again molded, and he knows how he can mold Brutus. the clever schemer and the clever person that he is, cunning I would rather say. Then that noble minds keep ever with their like. So noble people should always be in the company of noble people only. For who so firm that cannot be seduced? So there is no one so firm or so constant that he cannot be brainwashed, that he cannot be made agreeable to join something else, who cannot be molded in a different manner. Caesar doth bear me hard. So Caesar does not like me. He dislikes me. But he loves Brutus. Caesar hates me. He dislikes me, but he loves Brutus. If I were Brutus now and he were Cassius, that if I were in Brutus's place and Brutus was in my place, that means Caesar hating Brutus and Caesar liking me. In that case, should I have kept company with him? He would not humor me. He should not humor me. So, if I were Brutus, Brutus were Cassius, I would not allow him to be made to change my opinion by him. I would not have allowed Brutus to change my opinion. But Brutus's opinion, I know I can manage to change. Why? Because he is a very clever schemer. He is a very clever schemer and he knows how to make the minds of people change. But if I had been in Brutus's place with the like of Caesar, I would not have listened to Cassius. And just see what his plans are. I will this night in several hands, that means in different handwritings. What will I do tonight? In at his windows throw, as if they came from several citizens. So he would write several letters all in different handwritings, and he would throw it through the window of Brutus's house, so that he finds them and he reads and he feels, oh, different people have appealed to me to help them from the tyranny of Caesar, to deliver them from the tyranny of Caesar. So this is to convince Brutus that Rome is indeed in danger. The people of Rome are suffering and they need Brutus to do something. So it is Cassius who will be writing in different handwritings, as if they came from several citizens, writings all tending to the great opinion that Rome holds of his name. Yes, so in different handwritings, what will be written about the high admiration that the people of Rome have for him, wherein obscurely Caesar's ambition shall be glanced at, and as if adding a hint in the letter of Caesar's high ambition, hinting at Caesar's high ambition. This will be mentioned not very distinctly, in an indistinct manner. Caesar's high ambition will be hinted at, and what will be the main point of the letter? How highly the Roman people think of him, in what high esteem they hold him. And after this, let Caesar seat him sure, for we will shake him, or worse days endure. And he says that after I convince Brutus, Caesar should keep a firm hold on his position that he occupies at present, because if we can convince Brutus, we will bring Caesar down from that high place. And if we are not able to do it, bad times will follow, or rather worse days will follow for us, because we try to pull Caesar down. We are successful, well and fine, and if we are not successful, we will be caught, and bad days or worse days for us. So finally, Cassius feels his plan is working. And what is his plan? To assassinate Caesar. He is the main conspirator. The assassination plan is his brainchild. It is conceived in his mind. and he cannot alone do it. He needs the support. So he is pinpointing those people who have a grudge towards Caesar, whom Caesar has wronged, and he picks these people and makes a group. And he needs someone who will be in the same platform, people who have in the same platform as Caesar, to be a very nice opposition for Caesar. And who can it be other than Brutus? So Brutus needs to be convinced. And how can you convince Brutus? You can't say, oh, I'm jealous of him and that is why I'm planning a conspiracy, and Brutus, will you join me? No, this won't work. Brutus loves Caesar. So we have to convince Caesar, or I have to convince Caesar that Brutus, that Caesar is harmful for Rome. And if someone is harmful for Rome, Brutus will really go against that person, even if it were his own son. So he plays this card, the card of patriotism, to win Brutus to his side. What a clever schemer. But he will find his equal in Mark Antony later, after the death of Caesar. So this is for today or tonight. I have already completed Act 1, Scene 1, which I said was a lengthy scene. I had intended to do it in 3 classes, but somehow I have done it in this class only. Okay, so let me know of your opinions, and yes, this, and subscribe. Bye for the time being.